Hey, welcome back YouTube. So I'm going to do a little welding video because why not? Seems everyone's getting welders now, which is good. Welding is a good skill to have. A little bit of background, I'm a sheet metal mechanic here in Alberta. Sheet metal here in Alberta is mainly HVAC, but I've always been on the custom side. You go to school, 90% of it's HVAC, 10% of it's custom. But if you know custom, all the HVAC crap is stupid easy. But anyways, so I've been TIG welding for 24 years now. Because that's main, because we do a lot of stainless and steel and stuff like that. So I'm just giving some tips. So now I got this Vevor TIG 210P. I don't think I actually can put out 210 amps in real life. But anyways, at work we got high-end equipment. But actually recently at work I got an Arc Captain TIG 200P, which is an AC/DC TIG welder, so you can do aluminum and also you can do stick with it. But it's a high frequency. It's not scratch start or lift TIG as they call it, but I call it scratch start. But at first here at home I had a lift start. This was my lift start torch. I still have it because it'll work with this welder. I don't know if it'll come into frame, but I got a Arc Captain flux core welder. It was a stupid good flash sale on Amazon on the weekend. Anyways, this set takes scratch start, TIG setup. We got the valve on the torch. With this, you got to kind of do a little scratch, kind of like you do with stick welding, which is fine. I used to have a scratch start welder on my bench for a long time, and so just going over if you're starting with TIG, and like I saw Smitty was starting with TIG. If you're learning how to TIG, one thing is you'll probably start off with a torch like this, which is a regular, use a collet, gas comes out these holes, stuff like that. Pros and cons of scratch start. Scratch start, you get a lot of pecker tracks. Pecker tracks are, when you pull the arc away, they'll kind of diffuse, and if you're doing something nice like stainless, you don't want that. If you're just fucking around in your garage, it probably doesn't matter. But like at work, you don't want that. I used to scratch start a lot of work and kind of get techniques so you don't get a lot of pecker tracks. But then I told the boss I wanted a better welder at my bench. Like I said, we have better equipment available at the actual welding areas, but it's nice to do stuff at my bench. But recently, I bought this thing, and when I got this, I switched to a gas lens setup. I'm also using a stubby tailpiece here. But what a gas lens is, oh, I'll grab this guy too. Come on. So this is the collet. Or is that the mandrel? Anyways, the gas comes out of these 4 holes and just kind of comes out. It's good. Usually when you're welding like this, you got to run about 15. Fuck, did I just drop? You have to run about 15 to 20 cubic feet per hour of argon to get a nice weld. But at home, I'm just running a 20 cubic foot bottle, which I usually fill up at work. And but for that, I got a gas lens setup. That's why it looks a little funny, right? But they're stubby, which is kind of nice. This is actually a bigger torch. This is a WP26. This is a WP17. I actually prefer the 17s because it is just smaller, and often when I weld, I hold it like this. I just do it. It's habit. My setup at work has a trigger here. This is just an on-off switch, basically. If you're running on the 4-step TIG process, it does a little more because you can set for 1 heat, pull it off, 2nd heat, 3rd heat, off. But I have a gas lens set up on this. That's a gas lens. You got that screen in there that diffuses the argon more and puts it into a more like a column coming straight down. And what's the significance of that? I can run argon at just under 10 cubic feet per hour and I still get decent welds for at home. If I was at work, I didn't care about how much argon I used, even though I fill this bottle up at work usually. But I can never get fully filled. If I'm filling off a 320 cubic foot bottle that only has 1800 psi, I'm only gonna get about 1800 psi in this, which it should be for completely full. On these small bottles, you want 2200 psi for it to be completely full. But anyways, the gas lens setup helps a lot. This is running 332 tungsten. I use 332 tungsten for everything. That's what we use at work. I was using a 1/16 at home because that scratch start TIG set came with it. But 332 is much better to use. The 1/16 tungstens, you just tend to eat through them too fast. And I always use the red thoriated ones. Now, yeah, you might see stuff on the internet that thoriated is bad. Sorry, check something. Thoriated is bad. Well, technically, yeah, thorium dioxide, which is what they use in them, is technically is radioactive. But I mean, unless you're grinding up tungsten and snorting it like coke, it's not going to hurt you really. You get more when you're welding, especially like stainless steel. The chromium fumes you're breathing are much more harmful than any bit of radioactive material in thorium tungsten. It's only 2% thoriated, so it sounds like it's a lot. Okay, so that's just rambling on about torches. But if you're into starting TIG welding, it's good to start with scratch start. If you end up doing a lot of TIG weld, I recommend getting something high frequency start. It is just nicer. And it pulse too. I really don't need pulse. I've tried it and I just don't get it. But so if you're starting TIG welding, chances are you're gonna start with heavier stuff like 1/8. A good thing to do with coupons, I mean, yeah, you can take a square piece of metal and lay a bead in the middle. That's easy. I mean, a toddler could flip and do that. But you want to start practicing different kinds of welds, like corner welds, fillet welds. There was that fillet, I don't know. But the different kinds of joints. Sorry. I'm certified to weld, but I'm also getting old. I just do my own thing. But practice and keep getting lighter and lighter. Like start with like 1/8, because 1/8, if you start with 1/8, it's probably really good for your ego, because even like corner welds, because it's easy. But slowly work down. You can probably go to a sheet metal shop or custom fab shop wherever you live. Just have some cut like 2" by 3" coupons, and get stuff lighter. Like get 14 gauge, which is 80 thousandths of an inch, then 16 gauge, which is 63 thousandths of an inch. 18, get down to 20. At work, we regularly weld down to 20 gauge metal, steel and stainless. Once you get lighter than 20 gauge, like 22, 24, that's when things get interesting, because you're running really low amperage. Like you're getting down to like 22 amps. If you're using scratch, that's another thing about scratch start. When you get to lighter metals, and you have to turn your machine down so low, it's hard to strike an arc sometimes, and can be frustrating. I've done it lots, but still, if you're running scratch start, don't worry about doing like 22 gauge or 20 gauge, because you can do it, but it's a little different, and especially with no heat control, it's nice to have heat control. But anyways, enough of that. If anyone has questions, I'll answer them. And another thing, if you're TIG welding to do chainsaw muffler mods, this is about fill rod. So at work, we basically only use 2 kinds of fill rods. The main one we use is just stainless. I think it's a 309L, and that's pretty much good. We use it on steel too, because it works fine on steel. We do a lot of stainless, so obviously it works well on stainless. Sometimes we have the 316 series rod, which is for 316 stainless, is like an acid resistance, corrosion resistant, because stainless steel can actually rust like crazy, like the common 304 stuff. But that's another story. I could talk about metal for hours, but we use stainless for everything. But if you're doing light stuff, or stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be structurally strong, and like doing muffler mods, you want to pick up this. This is 1/16 silicone bronze. And exactly what we used to buy, we call it Everdur sometimes, because there used to be a trade name here in Canada of a brand called Everdur, but it's a silicone bronze. And what is silicone bronze? And this is just not coated or anything, but it's basically brazing rod for TIG. The melting point of this stuff is around, I think, between 18 and 1900 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to steel, which will actually melt at I think it's 2500 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyways, the good thing about this rod is you can draw it with heat just like raising rod, but you're doing it with TIG, so you're a lot more accurate. So you can like feeding it in. One thing you gotta be careful is, where's this torch? When you're feeding in silicone rods, because the temperature, melting temperature is lower, you kind of gotta feed it in like aluminum. You gotta keep it away from the heat and just dab it in when you have to, right? Because if you go too close, it'll just ball up on here, and it's fucking useless. That's kind of how aluminum works too, if you've ever TIG welded aluminum. But yeah, you just, like if you're doing a muffler mod, make sure it's clean as you can get it. You heat it up and use a low amperage, lower than you should be for the gauge of metal. And then you just use the brazing rod, dip it in, and just work it into the joint. And if you're learning how to TIG weld and you haven't used this stuff yet, get some silicone bronze 1/16. You will like it. Trust me. But like I said, you kind of gotta keep it away and feed it in. Sometimes we'll weld NFPA duct, where you got a corner seam on like 16 gauge cold roll duct. And if you have it just right, you can actually just lay this stuff in the corner and just kind of right down. But that takes a little bit of practice. Then you gotta get the amperage right and crap like that. So yeah, this is just helping people TIG, because TIG welding is the best kind of welding. I got this flux core wire feed welder, which that's because sometimes I do things I don't want to use gas, because if it's on the weekend I run out of argon, I'm just stick welding, so at least I got another option apart from stick welding. But yeah, if you have any questions, I might do some more welding videos about TIG welding. I'm going to do a review of this thing, and I think the last time I used flux core or welding was in high school in the mid-90s. But anyways, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully someone got some information off of this, and I'm gonna do some more more TIG weldings and more TIG welding videos and some metal fab videos, because there's a few projects I want to do at home, or I really necessarily don't want to do them work. I want to do some work to my little crappy utility trailer. I want to build a log holder that goes in the receiver of my truck, stuff like that. But anyways, hope everyone's having a great day. It's Monday right now. I'll post this video tomorrow on Tuesday. But yeah, TIG weld Tuesdays, that might be a thing. Anyways, take it easy. Bye.